See if that's any better. Away, away, we're marching down to Dixie. Away, away, we're marching down to Dixie. Yay, we're back. Greetings, wardens. I get so used to having that fan on me that sometimes I leave it on even when it doesn't really need to be on. I kind of like having air moving against my skin, though. I think that's one of the reasons I like being outside so much. Greetings, how's it going? It's going okay, going okay. I didn't have the most productive day in the world, but whatever. Did I see your Discord message? I don't know. I don't know if I did or not, honestly. The means of production shut down. Did they? Seems like they're still going to me. I sent you a link? Oh, okay. A link. A link, huh? Well, I'll go ahead and put it out there. I'm doing a $20 on Cash App guitar goal today, so if you guys want to hear some guitar music, I feel like playing, but I'm gatekeeping it behind that. Otherwise, we have no persistent goals in the background right now, so feel free to contribute as you wish. Let's see, are there any other beginning of stream things that I need to say now so that I remember later? No, I don't think so. How was your day then? It was good. Day kind of flew by, honestly. You just threw up all over yourself? Oh no. Oh, Margot. Margot hit the doink too hard and they threw up everywhere. Never a good look. Never a good feeling, though. It's even worse to be in the situation and know you are dealing with it. Especially because I know Margot lives in their car, so it's gotta suck extra bad. Ugh. I hate that for you, Margot. I'm so sorry. No longer can play pretend, huh? What's that supposed to mean? What's going on? We have just started the stream about 5 minutes ago, and right now we're waiting for a conversation to get started. I'm hoping that maybe I can get some some MAGA people, some Trump people to explain to me how Donald Trump posting an image of himself as Jesus Christ has not completely shattered your link to the MAGA movement? I would love to hear some discussion about that, but we'll see where the conversation goes. 5 minutes too long? We'll go somewhere else then. I don't have you chained to a radiator. You can watch whatever content you want to watch on this platform. There's a reason you're here. Supposed to be a Red Cross photo? Then why is there no Red Cross stuff in it? Why is Donald Trump dressed like Jesus instead of a doctor? You know, the Red Cross doesn't go around doing medical services dressed as Jesus. You know that, right? The Red Cross is, like, their medical component is composed of doctors and nurses and medical staff who dress as medical staff. Trump got people like you to talk about Jesus Christ? Yeah, by doing something that Thessalonians directly calls out as a sign of the Antichrist. Maybe you should crack your Bible and see what it says, and see what it has to say about people that set themselves up in the image of God. Doctor Strange also had glowing hands and a red cape. He doesn't have a red cape in that image. He's got that red thing that Jesus has on. It's not a cape. He's clearly not supposed to be a superhero or a doctor in that image. He's supposed to be Jesus. So here's the gaslighting that's coming out of MAGA right now and coming out of people that are trying to defend that picture. They're trying to tell you, don't believe your lying eyes, don't believe your lying memory, don't believe the thousands of pictures you've seen of Jesus dressed exactly like that, looking exactly like that, and don't compare that to how Trump looks in that AI-generated image. That is the gaslight that MAGA, Trump, and all the cronies are trying to sell the American people right now. There's a reason, by the way, if you're a MAGA person out there listening to this, there's a reason why all of your demagogues are now fleeing Trump. It's because they see the sinking ship for what it is. They're trying to distance themselves before the prosecutions begin. Every single Nazi dances, every single German dances to the strain of the I was not a Nazi polka. All without exception join in the refrain of the I was not a Nazi polka. Pretty soon you MAGAs are going to be singing a variation of that. Every single Roid dances to the strain of the I was not a MAGA polka. All without exception join in the refrain of the I was not a MAGA polka. We tried to kick out Donald right from the very start. That is what the history book should tell. I was MAGA until that post, I'll admit it. Well, Wardens, at least you've seen the veil for what it is. Now, please don't fall for it again. I'm not even trying to be an asshole here. I'm just being real with you, Wardens. Don't fall for it again. Next time there's some politician trying to pander to you by saying exactly what you want to hear and trying to kowtow to your religious preferences, look into them and see if that actually measures up to their record. Because in the case of Trump, I'm sorry, but I'm not even... And I knew he wasn't a Christian back in 2016. I knew that he was just playing it up for the camera like 10 years ago. And I'm not saying that you're an idiot because you didn't. I'm just saying, don't get duped again, man. Don't. You do yourself and whatever you care about no favors by getting duped by stupid politicians like Donald Trump. Wish I hadn't voted for him, feel terrible. Well, I mean, at least you learned your lesson, right? I'm not going to sit here and shit on you all night because you made the wrong decision at the ballot box. It's just not my way. But I hope you learned the right lesson. I hope you learned that populism, like populist rhetoric, only matters if you're actually going to bring that to the state house. And this anti-war rhetoric only matters if you're actually going to bring that to the state house. And all of this Christian rhetoric only matters if you actually believe it. So I hope you learn the right lesson. Hopefully, it is my sincere hope that more and more people learn that lesson, that more and more people figure out that Donald Trump is not, in fact, on their side, that the only thing he cares about is billionaire interests. That's all Donald Trump has in mind. The interests of people like him, and only people like him. The only reason why Donald Trump is willing to use some of the rhetoric of people like you and I is because he knows that easily duped morons and people that are really desperate are willing to go along with it under the assumption that maybe some of it might be real. You can't just believe that because somebody says it. You got to look at their record. Look at a dude like Zoran Mamdani. I mean, yeah, he's he's a newcomer to politics, but like in terms of his record has remained exactly consistent the whole fucking time. And he's always been clear and honest about his origins and why he feels the way he does and like how like what experiences shaped that. And there's a consistent record you can look back on. Whereas Donald Trump would have you believe that he's a Christian, but if you look back at videos from him of like 10 years ago when he was first taking like the oath to office and all these other official functions, there's this video, very famous video of Trump trying to hold a Bible for the camera. And it's like he's never touched a Bible before in his life. He's got no idea. Like, if you've never held a high quality Bible, one that's got the Old and New Testament in it both, let me explain, okay? A Bible is a flimsy thing. I don't know why they're made this way, but for some reason, every like ritzy Bible I've ever held in my life has been a paperback, basically. Sometimes it's with leather, sometimes it's pleather, sometimes it's just paper, but it's like a big bulky paperback with very silky, thin sheets, and it likes to flop. So if you're going to hold a Bible for a camera, you need to hold it with one hand along the spine and the other hand cradling the opposite corner. Basically, that's how you hold a Bible for a camera if you absolutely have to. Now, most people would say that's pretty tasteless to hold a Bible for a fucking photo op, but never mind that. Assuming that you're in America and you have to kowtow to the religious extremists in this country, that's not how you're like. You don't sit there and try to finagle it for 10 minutes. You just grab one corner and grab it at the top of the spine and hold it. There you go. No floppy Bible. I knew, dude, I knew Donald Trump was not a practicing Christian the moment I saw that video. I was like, oh, so this man's never held a Bible in his life. This man's never touched a Bible. I grew up in a Pentecostal church, and I went to church till I was 12 years old. I'm sorry, I just know how a Bible works. I'm 27 years old, and I could still hold a Bible for a camera better than Trump can. How did you guys not know that he was not on your side 10 years ago? I mean, I'm not trying to be a dickhead here, but come on now. Like, I'm glad you're seeing reason, okay? Don't get me wrong. I'm glad you're seeing reason. I need you to be on the lookout for this in the future. Okay? Thank you for the $2, Josiah. I appreciate that. Smear his reputation and you don't know his name. Who? What now? Bible fact, the name of God is God's reputation. Oh, that's true. That's true. Very true. Very true. I'm a real one? Thanks. I try. You have no right to talk about anything with pentagrams in your room. Well, that's exactly the irony, isn't it? A fucking atheist that actively practices various forms of spiritualism can sit here and tell you more about what's in your Bible and how your president is measuring up to it than you guys are apparently capable of doing. You shouldn't need me, an atheist, to sit around making these criticisms. Just saying. And once again, to me, it's just shocking that it took so many people this long to figure out that he doesn't take it seriously. And I think it's because people are so chauvinist in their brains when they think about America and Christianity. So they don't care, right? They didn't care when Donald Trump was disrespecting Muslims, right? They didn't care when Donald Trump disrespected Hindus. They didn't care when Donald Trump disrespected Jewish people or anything else. They don't care when he disrespects any other religious identity, right? Now, I'm not saying that's all of you guys, but that's something like if you fell into the trap of Trump and you are now climbing your way out and you're navigating the world in a post MAGA, like with a post MAGA mindset, then one of the things you need to reconcile is how you managed to get conned like that. Why it mattered to you the moment he started making fun of Christianity, but why you never got the impression that he was not a man of faith when he was so blithe about other people's religions. I'm just saying, in all of my years going to church, I never once heard my pastor like disrespect Jewish people or Hindus or Muslims or anything else. Now, I know that there definitely are some hateful pastors out there that'll do that, but they are, in my opinion, skewing the word of God. It seems pretty clear from what Jesus had to say in the New Testament that you are not supposed to be hateful towards people, but rather you are to welcome them into your bosom. I don't know. Seems pretty hypocritical to me, but leaving that aside, most people that genuinely believe in the precepts of their faith don't find it necessary to constantly shit on everybody else of every other religion. You know, religious people tend to see some kind of like baseline solidarity in one another. They like it when Muslims are allowed to pray because they're like, oh, okay, well, that's more guarantees religious freedom. Real religious people are like that. It should have told you something was wrong back when he was like constantly making fun of Muslims or any other religious identity, but it didn't because, like I said, that American Christian chauvinist kind of thing. Welcoming is not the same as accepting. Way to use semantics to wriggle your way out of the biblical responsibilities heaped upon you by your Lord and Savior. I don't believe any of this horse shit. Of course, I derive my morality from things that make sense. But you're supposed to be held to this. I was not chugging vinegar. It's water. Although I think it is in a vinegar jug. But don't worry, it was washed thoroughly before we used it for spring water. You're in women's clothes, bro. The fuck you talking about? Random American cisgender man discovers trans woman online. News at 11. Oh, I might run in and get me more tobacco here in a minute. Oh, nice, King Bugs. Thank you for the 10 subscribers or the 10 members. I appreciate that. I'm going to have to start releasing some stuff for my members here soon. I need to just get on my own ass about making content already. Like long form, like edited, fucking higher production value content that's not just these vertical live streams. Because members will get access to that before anybody else does. Uncle Flanus with the Australian 20. I appreciate it so much. If only most Christians were more like Jesus, I could actually tolerate them. By the way, thank you for donating to Deep Fat Fried earlier, and saying that I'm your favorite unofficial DFF member. I don't think I'm anywhere near talented enough to consider myself an unofficial member of DFF, but I appreciated the vote of confidence nonetheless. It was fun going on the show while I waited for my pizza. That worked out really well. Okay, I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna grab you some more tobacco. Y'all keep the fires burning. Oh, shit. I guess the members train continued while I was off getting tobacco. Alrighty. Alrighty. Thank you, Kim, for the gifted members. You know, I appreciate it. Hopefully we can use back up. Sorry for the break, everybody. Remember, if you've been enjoying the stream, please hit that like button if you haven't done so already. What's going on? You know, it's funny you say that, rich in spirit. I actually befriended a rainbow hippie, one of the Rainbow Originals, one of those dudes who was there at the original Rainbow Gathering at the Colorado Nationals in 22. I befriended this old OG rainbow hippie, and his name was Rich in Spirit. I believe Rich might be passed away now, so rip Rich. Somebody should look that up. Somebody should look up Rich in Spirit, Rainbow Family, passed away. See. Let me know. Rich in Spirit is a real one? No, he was a real one. Wait, you know him, Matt? Are you being for real, though? Matt, are you being for real, for real? Dude, if you've met Rich, that's the fucking coolest shit. Well, the way you reacted just sounded so personal. I wasn't sure. Thank you, King Bugs, for the additional memberships. Look at that. Are you in your mom's basement? No. I live in the deep south where basements are an impossibility. Can't have a basement down here, boy. The ground just pukes them on back up. Unless you live in very specific geographies in my area, you really can't have a basement. Can you make gumbo? I can make gumbo. I make a better red beans and rice, though. I wasn't seeing anything about Rich passing on Google. Okay, good. Then maybe that old fucker's still alive then. Hell, I thought I read somewhere about him passing away, but I'd be mighty relieved to know he didn't. He was like 99 or 100 when I met him, so. Old as the hills. The kind of guy that was old when he went to the original Rainbow, you know? The kind of guy that was on the latter half of his life when he went to the fucking first one. Just amazing to think about. That's a great thing about being long-lived, you know? And I think that's ultimately why so many people are protective of, people in old age, is because of the idea that you don't necessarily have a set expiration date. Let me see here. I looked it up. The only thing I can find is someone was violently stabbed in 2018. Yeah, not the same guy. Not the same one for sure. Well, thank you for looking it up, Margot. I appreciate it a ton. Thank you. So what are we going to talk about? Politics is stupid. Trump, Obama, Biden are all buddies behind the scenes. Well, that doesn't mean politics is stupid. That means electoral politics at the national level have become a joke. Politics is different from electoral politics at the national level. You see what I mean? When it comes like politics, that's everything from how you feel about abortion to whether or not you think gay people should get married. I mean, it's how you feel about unions. It's how you feel about workers' rights and wages, healthcare. All these different things are tied up into politics. And those things do matter. The way we feel about those things matters. But yeah, on a national level, the presidency of Donald Trump is proof that politics at the national level has become a shit show parade, or I'm sorry, a shit show and a charade meant to convince the people that something is happening in their favor, not the collective of the people, but just a certain group of people, usually, that something is happening in their favor, while behind the scenes, things continue to enshitify, wars continue, new wars get started, etc. I agree that Black Lives Matter, but please don't spam. Where would Trump rank right now as a president? Pretty fucking low. Pretty fucking low. Right down there with George W. Bush and some of the other baddies from the last 50 years. Not quite as low as Andrew Jackson, but not even as high as Richard Nixon. Think about this. Richard Nixon was a better mixed bag than Donald Trump has proved to be so far. Now, maybe he'll change my mind somehow. Maybe he'll manage to broker a peace deal with Iran that sees some kind of peace take shape long term. I don't think that's going to happen. Maybe. I leave open the possibility that it might occur, but I don't look for it. I don't think it's going to happen. Maybe he'll legalize cannabis at the federal level. I don't look for it. I don't think it's going to happen. He signed an executive order insisting that his DA get on, or not DA, but DEA get on it quick. But what is that ultimately going to lead to? So as of right now, I would say that Trump sits right down there with George W. Bush and his father and like Gerald Ford, maybe. Like, we're talking about some real shitbags. Andrew Jackson, Andrew Johnson, Trump, Reagan, Bush. Yeah, 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 maybe. Our president is a felon. Who would think of that ever happening? I know. Like, if you would have asked me, even at the beginning of Trump's first term, do you think we will ever have a president that is a felon? I would have laughed in your face. I would have flatly laughed in your fucking face. It would have been the funniest supposition in the world in 2016. My 18-year-old ass would have been like, are you kidding me? What? A felon as president? We'll have a stoner as president before we have a fucking felon as president. Are you kidding? Not just a stoner. We'll have a woman, disabled, trans stoner president before we have a fucking felon president. And I feel like I would have been perfectly within my rights and justified in saying so. After all, you look at how discriminated against the average felon is in America, and it doesn't seem like you should be able to ascend to that level, given that kind of criminal record. But in the case of someone like Donald Trump, it just doesn't matter because he's already ingratiated with the power system. Just like it wouldn't have mattered if Joe Biden had at some point been convicted of a bunch of felonies. You think Joe Biden would be saying a fucking day? You think he would be seeing a day of federal prison? No. It would be house arrest for his ass. We don't put presidents in prison, and we don't really meaningfully punish people in power ever. If you've enjoyed the stream so far, please consider hitting that like button. It is a awful shame that we are only at 21 likes, despite the fact that we've got over 100 people sitting around watching. So clearly some of you guys are liking the stream without actually hitting the buttons. So please, double tap your screen. It helps immensely. Is this communism? No. No, I'm self-employed within a broader system of capitalism. I mean, I would like to eventually, be rich enough through my YouTube proceeds to eventually start a commune where me and all my based friends can live at once with nature and minimally involved in the broader capitalist system. But that hasn't happened yet, so. You're not self-employed, you're unemployed, says SDFU. Sounds like bitterness to me, friend. All of that green represents money. You see all that green down there? And I'm not even trying to be a douchebag about this. I just don't know why there's so many player haters out there. Like, I'm not trying to sit around flexing. I ain't rich off this shit. That's why I said, if I ever get rich, like that's hence the if. But I make enough to pay my bills. And I've made more in April just like so far than I've ever made in any month in my life ever. So, if the trend continues, things are looking up. Dirty Dan, did you just say Obama was top 5, scamming the country's top 5? We were screwed if that's so. I mean, like, honestly, I don't know that I would place Obama in my top 5, but he might be in the top 15 because he did change something that. Thank you, King Bugs, for the additional 10 gifted memberships. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Hell yeah. Make sure you guys have that enabled, by the way, in your settings. Go to the little gifting membership thing, and then you can check your own settings to make sure you can accept them. That way you can get gifted a sub next time King Bugs throws a round out there. But yeah, I think Obama would have to be in the top 15 because he did change something about American health insurance that was a total giant hole in coverage. It created this massive hole. And what that was is like preventing insurance companies from turning you away for pre-existing conditions. Nowadays, whether or not you have a pre-existing condition, insurance companies still have to accept you as a patient. That and allowing more self-employed people to get insurance by switching around some of the regulations and shit, like some of the bureaucratic shit Obama ended up doing on the back end with the ACA. Some of that stuff really did help the average American. Now, it wasn't nearly far enough. Like, it was a total fucking gift to the insurance companies. It didn't provide it didn't actually provide like better healthcare to the United States. It just increased more people's access to private healthcare insurance, which in some cases increased their access to care. But in many cases, it didn't. I mean, look at the millions of people who remain uninsured to this day. Look at the millions of people who remain unable to access their or any kind of preventative health care or anything like that because of the type of insurance they've got. We've got massive holes in this country still to this day, and a lot of that's because Obama allowed the public option to be stripped from his Obamacare package. And the reason I critique, if it's not obvious, by the way, if you're someone more on the left and you're listening to me and you're like, why is she going after Dems so hard when the Republicans are in power and all this? It's because we need to hold our Dems to a better standard or this shit's just going to keep happening. This slide towards fascism and authoritarianism, a lot of the reason why it's happening is because we have not held our Democrats to a high enough standard. And as a result, we've allowed them to govern like neoliberals, in some cases like neoconservatives. And we have lost the soul of what it means to be on the left electorally. And if we don't reclaim that, then we've got no avenue for participation on the national stage unless we just all go third party or something. Like, so you have to understand where I'm coming from here. There is never a more critical time to discuss what direction you want to go and what mistakes have been made than when you're not in power anyway and you're getting ready for another go at things. And the biggest mistake that Democrats as a party apparatus have made, honestly, in terms of their electoral viability, is allowing themselves to continue to be bought out by corporations and the elite. And if they don't allow themselves to be taken over by grassroots progressives, then they will die. And I don't mean literally die. I mean their party will disappear. And they'll be subsumed by the Republicans. And those who are actually on the left or actually progressive will acquiesce to some new third party. But we have to figure shit out. And we have to be clear about what mistakes were made. And allowing the Democrats to get away with not bringing their promises to fruition when they had majorities like they did during Obama's time, I think not holding them to account for that would be a critical misstep. Historically speaking, for 28, it's too late for third party. Well, that I kind of know that, and that's why you guys have heard me talk. I mean, Daniel, I know you've been here like for months at this point. You've heard me talk about my strategy plan and my predictory model, right? I think that the Dems are going to show their ass again in the midterms by allowing and promoting a bunch of Zionist corporatist shills as the new youthful face of the Democratic Party. And I think that they're going to win the midterms, but I don't think that they're actually going to do anything with that increased leverage. I think that they're going to claim that they're going to wait till 2028 to use that leverage. And then in 2028, they're going to allow some neoliberal shitbag like Gavin Newsom to rise to the party nomination. Once that motherfucker secures the nomination, they will most assuredly win against Trump, because anyone can win against Trump at this point. He is actively blasphemous. He has tried to incite a fucking hillbilly insurrection. I don't know. Like, there's a million crimes under Trump's belt. We don't need to go over all of them. He's obviously, like, the party he represents will lose in 2028, obviously. No matter who they put up there. They could put another Joe Biden up there and he's going to lose to him, okay? It's just the way it is. People hate Trump. It's just the way it fucking is. The only time you get Trump is after dissatisfaction from a shit-lib Democrat. Just look at the history, okay? So, once they do that, I think that progressives and people on the left will try for about 6 months to pressure that Democrat into actually doing some things that we want them to do, and that will be the marker. Do they do those things? Or do they continue governing like fucking neoconservatives? Do they continue endlessly funding Israel? Do they continue denying us universal health care? Do they continue coming up with excuses why they just can't get nothing done? If so, the left and progressives will abandon the party. I have a feeling in my bones that that will be the last electoral cycle that we will be fucked over by a party that's clearly disinterested in our vote, clearly disinterested in the process of actual democracy. You are absolutely disgusting. I hope you know that. Yeah, and there's nobody on the internet I trust more than some random retard with nothing as their profile picture that's talking shit in my live chat. No better a source than that. Are we team red Jews or blue Jews here? Israel, this is what you've done to the world. I just want Israel as an entity to know that this is what it has done to political discourse, not just here in America, but all over. People now feel like they've got a legitimate excuse for their stupid anti-Semitic bullshit. And so now, rather than sit here and criticize the many, 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 many crimes of Israel over its long and storied history, actually it's very short, only been around for like 70 years. Rather than sit around talking about that, I've now got to defend the average American Jew who opposes Israel and doesn't care like anything about all these fucking geopolitical machinations that are supposedly being done in their name, because you motherfuckers have allowed yourselves to be fucking convinced by the world's oldest fucking lie due to the misappropriation of an ethno-religious identity by a horrible, evil, satanic government. Israel, this is what you've done to the world. This is the direct result of Israeli actions on the world stage. I swear to God, I never had to argue against this much anti-Semitism like 10 years ago. None of it will matter if Netanyahu still has blackmailing the people in power. Blackmail doesn't matter. The Epstein files prove that blackmail doesn't matter. Why does everyone still believe this? I'm not trying to be mad at you, Matt, but why? I flatly don't get it. Maybe me and Paul need to have an argument about this, because he's constantly going around spreading this myth too. I don't believe it. I'm sorry. I don't buy it. I'm not saying I don't buy that Israel has compromise. Obviously they do. I don't buy that it's an effective lever of power anymore. The Epstein files prove that it doesn't matter. There are hundreds of fucking people that are in power in America whose positions have not been challenged one bit because of the Epstein files, even though they're directly implicated. Stay mad when he's still your president? I'm just shocked that there are still MAGA people out here sucking his dick and carrying his water after he's posting pictures of himself as Jesus Christ. You guys believe nothing. You realize that? Does it ever bother you that you believe nothing? Like, real talk. Does it ever bother you that you don't believe a goddamn thing? You need new glasses. They are taped together. Well, hopefully with the windfall from last month and this month, I will be able to afford new glasses for the first time in 10 years. Hopefully. Lots of things I need to clear up now that I've got the money to do it, but... Phoebe, aren't you an atheist? Why are you talking about blasphemy? It's one of the rules that you'll read if you ever read Rules for Radicals, and I think it's one of the ones that I actually agree with. You hold your enemy to their standards, not yours. It's one of the ways to demonstrate the weakness of their position. You hold the enemy to their standards. MAGA believes, or claims to believe, very highly in the idea of religion and God and Christianity and Jesus and all this. And if that's true, then they should be able to look at that AI picture, look at the fact that Donald Trump admitted that he posted it, and look at his gaslighting and be able to say, yep, that's not a Christian. Nope. Either he's too stupid to know what Jesus is supposed to look like when depicted on pictures, or he actually thinks he's Jesus Christ and doesn't care what other people think about it, so he's just going to make up a stupid lie about it. That's why I'm bringing up blasphemy. Not because I fucking care personally that Donald Trump posted a blasphemous photo of himself as Jesus. In fact, I think it's one of the funniest things an American president's ever done. He's been on a real streak with that lately. But MAGA should care, because MAGA claims to predicate a bunch of their beliefs on their Christianity. But, as usual, they've got a host of excuses for why it's actually okay in this instance and why it would be horribly blasphemous and evil if Obama did it, but it's perfectly okay if Donald Trump does it. You are not a woman. You can keep crying about your backwards ideas about gender all day long in my chat for as long as I'm streaming. Feel free, but it is never going to legitimize your values. On my side, the collective knowledge of medicine and science. On your side, lazy stoner bullshit. I say that as a lazy stoner. Even I can read more medical documents than you can. Thankfully, orthos aren't hypocrites about it. We keep calling Trump a heretic on this end. Well, good. Yeah. Like, honestly, the biggest hypocrites about it are American evangelicals who are supposed to be the most stringent about this thing ever. It just goes to show you their standards mean nothing. They believe in nothing. They believe in power and domination. That's what they believe in. They believe in their interests being extrapolated on the world stage, no matter what cost it comes at, and no matter who the brazenly stupid idiot is that is leading the charge on it. They don't care. They don't care. Not at all. They don't give a fuck that Donald Trump is not a real Christian. They don't care because they don't believe in anything. They don't believe in hell. If they did, they would not be continuing to support a president who's acting like the Antichrist. Once again, I don't believe in any of this horseshit, but you guys supposedly do. And if you do, then how are you continuing to support a president who's literally acting like the Antichrist? Read Thessalonians. Trump never said he was religious. Trump has said he was religious a ton of times. Trump loves to talk about what a Christian he is. But for some reason, he can't tell you what his favorite verse in the Bible is. I can tell you what my favorite Bible verse is. I can't remember what the chapter and verse is, but I think it's Isaiah. It's or maybe Book of Isaac. I don't remember. It's and I heard a voice saying, "Whom shall I send, and who will go for me?" And I said to him, "Send me, O Lord, I will go." And I like that verse, you know? I feel like it's got an echo that rings for anybody that's interested in social activism and interested in the struggle for workers' rights or the struggle of the proletariat against the bourgeoisie. Anybody can look at that verse and see how it can be like a comforting thing to somebody who feels called to social revolution, you know? So even I, as a secularist, as a person who literally sees the Bible as a literary reference with no divine nature at all, I have a favorite Bible verse. Trump doesn't. Man. Feels good. You know, for a long time, people in my position, you know, leftists online have been saying, Trump's cooked, MAGA's cooked, MAGA in shambles. I've even thrown it in the title a few times, but I've always clarified, MAGA's going to stick together. In this instance, I mean, like there's like a core of MAGA that's always going to stay together. I've always said that, and I'll say it till, you know, till the movement disappears. But like, this has made all of the demagogues flee him. And a ton of their audiences are doing so as well. I've seen like 7 or 8 different people in this chat alone saying, you know, I was a MAGA until that post. I feel like I was duped, et cetera, et cetera. People are learning their lesson, in other words. People are starting to finally open their eyes to the fact that this dude was never on their side, never represented their interests, was never going to go their way. And maybe they will take that and realize, well, you know who was making those criticisms of him earlier than anybody? Was the crazy leftists that I've been calling Antifa for the last 5 years. Maybe I'll look into what they're talking about. And I'm not saying that we're right about everything, But just look into the math of some of the basic things that people on the left call for, and you'll find that it works out. Universal healthcare would make us spend less on healthcare than we presently do as a society. Rebuilding our roads. You know, for every dollar you spend on infrastructure improvement, it leads to $1.50 going back into the economy and people doing more business. You know, like all of these things that we on the left call for, these are things that are mathematically justified, socially justified, theoretically. Like, there's a basis for it, and it can lead to better societies. We can cite examples, you know? So, if you feel duped by the Trump administration, just know there's a whole giant movement of people who have felt duped by the American government for a long time and want something better. And there is a way to strive for that. And we can live in a country where we love our neighbors again, where we can somewhat kind of trust our politicians, where we can get a broken arm fixed without knowing it's going to indebt us for the next 2 years. We can have that. That's real. I believe. Do you? Do you believe in America like I do? Do you believe in America like I do? But big corporations can't make as much money if we have universal healthcare? Actually, no. There's like literally like 3 specific industries that are being propped up by the American private healthcare industry. It is not the entirety of the billionaire class. I mean, I'm sure because they've diversified their interests and all that, like it is in a sense, but like there are tons of industries who would make up from the loss that they saw in losses from the nationalization of healthcare. They would see that made up for in increases to their valuation that come from the fact that they no longer have to pay for healthcare out of a like you realize if you work for a company, a lot of times that company pays part of your healthcare premium. So you might be paying $200 a month in terms of your like monthly contribution to your health insurance premium, but the whole premium might be like $500 a month, and then the company's paying the other 300. This arrangement is very common amongst a whole bunch of different industries, and it costs tons of different industries in America. I keep repeating that word, but it costs tons of industries in America billions of dollars every year in terms of needless expenditure to an overly expensive system that mostly exists to enrich middlemen along the way. So it's actually something that everybody, including many big businesses, would benefit from. It's just that the billionaires in control of those big businesses have diversified their incomes to the point where they've got a hand in every pie. So they don't want any of those pies to go away, no matter how much it would benefit the other pies. It's self-serving, short-term, I'm going to die eventually logic. You ever heard the phrase, the world improves when old men plant trees in which the shade in which they will never sit? We are now living in a world where instead of old men planting trees, they are actively looking for forests to burn down. I looked up the cons of universal health care, and worse quality of care and higher taxes are the 2 main problems with it. Yeah, but the problem that's based on, right, or the misunderstanding that's based on is assuming that American healthcare is automatically the best. You know, that every other country's healthcare must be varying degrees of worse. But in actuality, of course, there are some universal healthcare systems with worse outcomes than America's healthcare system. There are universal healthcare systems in countries that can't really afford to have a universal healthcare system. So there are, of course, going to be some instances of the system not working out to the people's favor. But I would argue that in a lot of those instances, neither would a private model. You're talking about people with no money that are trying to appropriate like what little money they have into resources to better their people. It's an understandable impulse, but I'm like, when you look at the amount of countries that have universal healthcare, it includes tons of countries with like it's like, okay, Burkina Faso. I don't know if they have universal healthcare. I'm just using them as an example. Okay, there's like all kinds of countries, like I don't know, Indonesia is thought of as a pretty like underdeveloped country in a lot of ways. There's lots of countries that have a universal healthcare system, but access is still limited due to infrastructure problems, funding issues, etc. But there are also universal healthcare systems that are way better than America's, that have way better outcomes. I don't know what the best healthcare system in the world is right off the top of my head. But if you look at a lot of the Nordic countries, their outcomes are a lot better than ours. Their wait times, in a lot of cases, are even better than ours. Um, and obviously, they've got no out-of-pocket costs for most of their expenses. So, our healthcare/hospitals will be in ruin in a few years. If you're low class or poor in America, it's already free. It's not. That's not true at all. Literally, the cutoff for getting Medicaid is so fucking low. Pretty much the instant you start making enough money to like do anything meaningful with your life, a big chunk of that money starts getting taken out in the form of insurance premiums because you're no longer on Medicaid now, bitch. So that's just not true at all. There are tons and tons of people that live right near the poverty line that can't get on Medicaid because they just make too much somehow. Anyway, leaving that aside, um, universal healthcare would be actually a really good solution to solving the like funding issue that a lot of these hospitals are seeing. The reason why they're having funding issues is because we run on a private healthcare model in a country where more and more people are poor or so close to poor that they really can't afford health insurance. Or even if they can, they can't really afford to pay their fucking healthcare bills. So they're just kind of like paying their premiums every month and maybe making an occasional dent in their deductible and shit, but they're not really paying their insurance bill. Like they're paying their premiums, but they're not paying their fucking healthcare bills. And that's a direct result of us having the most expensive system with the most middlemen and the most people that need to extract wealth out of it. You could not only reduce healthcare costs just throughout the system by implementing universal healthcare and obviously regulating the fuck out of the healthcare industry, but you would also reduce people's out-of-pocket costs. You like completely end their out-of-pocket costs, and you would reduce the amount that they're paying yearly. Instead of paying a fucking premium, we would fix the tax system and start appropriating money towards these things that actually help us instead of bombing little kids in the Middle East continuously. The money exists. It's out there. It can be used for better things. The Democrats designed Obamacare so the government would give insurance companies massive amounts of money, which in turn give Democrats money for their campaigns. I don't know if you know this, but the healthcare insurance industry gives both parties plenty of money for their campaigns. And Obamacare did not originate in Barack Obama's Oval Office. Obamacare originated as Romney Care, named after Mitt Romney, the Republican governor of Massachusetts. Romney Care was a plan formulated by the Heritage Foundation, the same conservative think tank that formulated Project 2025. So before you go shitting all over Obamacare, maybe learn a little something about its origins. Leave it to the Republicans to complain about a system that they created and blame it on the Dems. The thing I don't get about people who decry universal health care is why, like, do you want a totally unaccountable middleman who is entirely profit-minded sitting between you and your ability to get the healthcare you need? Why? Why is that a good idea? Why should some profit-minded middleman sit in between you and your ability to get a surgery you need? Shouldn't that be between you and your doctor? Red versus blue dichotomy detected, opinion rejected. Okay, if that's the way you want to look at it. I'm just as much a fucking critic of the Democrats as anybody, but I really hate it when Republicans cite Obamacare as an example of the Democrats fucking everything up. And use the example that they give is a completely unnuanced picture of the Affordable Care Act. Like, the Republicans and the Democrats colluded to fuck us over with the Affordable Care Act. Let's not mince any words here. I don't know why you guys are sitting here thinking I'm defending Obamacare. How the fuck did we get onto this topic? Obamacare is not universal health care, as proven by the millions of Americans who still don't have health care. I am a critic of Obamacare. I just don't like it when fucking Republicans try to paint it like it's an exclusively Democratic fucking idea. Like it didn't have its origins in the Heritage Foundation. No, motherfuckers. You guys colluded to fuck us all over. Solidarity. I don't know how you teach the chud day in, day out. Power to you. How do I do it? Chemical friend. Lots of chemical assistance. Healthcare is for winners, chump. Go cry about it. Sounds like the privileged take of somebody who's never been slapped off with a mama's titty. You'll learn eventually, kid. The American healthcare system has a funny way of equalizing us all. Mr. King Bugs, look at that again with the fucking gifted memberships. Thank you so much. Are your parents as far left as you? My dad is like, I'd say like a center-right libertarian kind of guy. Although a lot of like the policies he would support functionally end up being like Dem policies, and he'll acknowledge that. So, no, my dad is definitely not. But my mom, yeah, yes. My mom's got some conflicting and contradictory beliefs in places, but her grounding is very anti-authoritarian, critical of power and money. Like, she really didn't start to get into the like phraseology and day-to-day goings on of politics until like the last 2 months, basically. Not even really the last 2 months. It's been like the last year. This Trump administration, she's kind of always been that way, always kind of like hated Republicans and been critical of Democrats, yada yada yada. But like in the last year, I think because of what industry she works in and some other things, she has become incredibly critical of, you know, she's been incredibly critical of the Trump administration, the U.S. government in general. Um, she's been like learning more about politics and stuff and familiarizing herself and like becoming comfortable with some of the labels. I heard her call herself, it was the coolest thing. I heard my mom call herself a liberal for the first time the other day. And I was like, honestly, I would say you're to the left of that. But, you know, I celebrated it as a win because like she was always one of these like apolitical but would vote for a Dem in an election and hardcore leftist viewpoints if you really drill down kind of people. But now she's starting to more openly identify with the mechanisms behind, I don't know how to put it, but um I would say she's about as far left as I am on most things. I wish mine were half as self-aware. Well, I am blessed with that. I mean, both of my parents are very self-aware people, and like pretty worldly too. Like, not neither of them stay super informed on world affairs, but like whenever something does catch their attention, they look into it. Well, actually, my dad does stay up to date on the news. Like he always has. He doesn't talk about it all that much. I mean, me and him do now. But you know, when I was a kid, it's not like he was constantly talking politics to me or anything. But dude, now that I'm an adult, me and him disagree on quite a bit. Like we agree on like universal health care, but then we disagree on the degree to which it should be offered, I guess, and the particulars maybe. We disagree on like for example, I'm always talking about how America needs a complete like a new infrastructure bill with an eye towards public transit and completely rehabilitating all of our roads and railroads and tram networks and shit like that. Like America needs rebuilt basically. And he agrees with me on the rebuilt part, but disagrees massively on the public transit thing. And I'm just like, man, that's because you're a fucking hayseed that likes living out in the country, okay? Most of America does not live like that. But it's all with love. It is cool to have parents I can have a pretty deep political conversation with, I'll tell you that much. Do you think America's style of government fits our modern problems, or would another style of government be better at fixing them? Um, yeah, that's a really good question. No, I think we're due for a new style. I think maybe we can take some of the bones. I think we can take some of the DNA of what makes America unique, and we can extrapolate on that and make a better system. But yeah, I definitely think new ideas are due. Can somebody getting super chat and tell her just shut up? Wouldn't you like that? By the way, if you guys want to hear me play the guitar, $20 or more on Cash App. Just letting you know. Parliament is better. What is sortition, King Bugs? If we get a crazy dictator, we can remove them from power with one vote. Parliament is better. Hey, maybe. I don't like honestly, I need to read up on the distinctions between these different forms of democracy and shit because I genuinely don't understand the difference between a parliamentary model and what we have. Do you think more democratic or more republic for our government? Honestly, I think that we would be going in a better direction if things are more democratic, genuinely. I think that people would feel like they had more of a stake in things if they felt like their vote counted directly. As it is, a lot of people know that the Electoral College doesn't mean much, so there's tons of people that don't vote in the presidential elections. They know that their vote in the Electoral College doesn't mean much. Is this chat how you make your living? Pretty much, yeah. People say voting is cringe, then democracy simp. Yeah, Habibi, we are both silently waiting for an autocratic monarch. What's going on now? I don't know if you're accusing me of something or agreeing with me or what. Sortition is election by drawing lots, the ancient Greek way. Ooh. True, but don't minorities suffer more in pure democratic governments? I don't know if that's true. And I don't know if that would be universally true in every instance just because it was true one time in one instance. Does that make sense? Jesus. Gnarly stem in there. It provides a random representation of the population and prevents moneyed interests from controlling who gains political power. Yeah. But I feel like I just feel like a system based on sortition would probably not work in the modern day because I feel like it could be very easily influenced. But I don't know. I'm probably going to have that worry with any change we make to our electoral systems. And that's one of the problems that we're all facing as Americans, right? One of the things we're all subtly aware of, but we don't really know how to deal with. Aren't we a Democrat? We're a democratic republic. Balances minority and majority. Yeah, but that's the thing. Think about the minority interests that actually get. We're not just talking about democracy in a vacuum, okay? If the minority interests, if we were purely talking about social issues, then maybe we would be okay. Maybe that would be for the better if that was all people voted on, and if that was the only, and if our democracy wasn't subverted in any way, et cetera, et cetera. In a perfect world, maybe that would be ideal. But we don't live in a perfect world. And the democracy that we're critiquing right now is a bourgeois democracy that is subverted in a number of key ways that I think make it ripe for replacement. And I think we need to start thinking about mechanisms by which we can codify the people's will and translate that into electoral results that is not so prone to the methods by which our modern democracy has been subverted. He smokes weed because he's a Democrat. And lots of Republicans smoke weed. Donald Trump himself has been working to get weed decriminalized and possibly even legalized. So I don't know, man. Seems like the Republicans are trying to run with that issue. I don't know. The Dems haven't let it go, though, which is a hopeful sign for me. I really don't like the idea of weed becoming overly politicized. Can we just legalize it? The war on drugs doesn't work. Okay? It doesn't work. It's bad. It's just an excuse to pull people over and throw people in jail. We're a flawed democracy, but we're a flawed, that's the thing. Yes, democracy is a work in progress. It's something you strive towards. It's a goal to be achieved, et cetera, et cetera. But it's also like the particular model that you have matters. And the particular model we have has been subverted fucking 10 ways to Sunday. Is this a 420 and alcohol friendly stream? I like using but won't talk about it too much. I smoke weed. I drink sometimes. I got very drunk on the religious side the other night because I had a Catholic on, and I was like, well, Catholics are fine with drink for the most part. We are a democratic republic, not just a democracy, so we can't be a flawed democracy because we aren't a pure democracy. Well, we are a democracy, but we're not a pure democracy. Ultimately, these terms are less useful than the concepts we're describing and the things we're trying to call it. Let's not get caught up in semantics and definitions. What I mean when a flawed democracy, I think you get it, right? There are problems in the way we do things. Yes, I know that we are, in fact, a democratic republic, but, that's still a form of democracy. You guys wear me out sometimes. You too, kawaii pandas. Oh. What rappers do you like? What rappers do I like? Tech Nine, Tupac, Eminem, Dr. Dre, Juice WRLD. And I like Machine Gun Kelly's earlier stuff. I get caught up in specific wording, my bad. I get what you're saying, though. Yeah. For sure. I don't like to get caught up in the specific wording because a lot of times I'm just trying to find a shorthand to talk about a broader topic. In this case, flawed democracy is a specific phrase that's used to describe the democratic models that have problems. Specific democratic models, not like ideological models, but examples on the world stage. America, for example, flawed democracy. It's also a democratic republic, but those two things can be true at the same time. They are not, in fact, contradictory. Even if it kind of sounds like it. They're not. Who does class conscious rap? Okay. Gotcha. So did Tupac, man. So did Tupac. Goddamn shame. Sorry, I'm just sitting here listening to changes in my head. Okay, this will be fun. Does anybody else here have the ability to listen to music in their head? I do? Nice, okay. I do all the time. Okay, okay. Alright, alright. I wanna see one of these nah motherfuckers. Sure, maybe not a full song, though? Really? I do. I beatbox, so it's common for us? Yeah, of course, you kinda have to. I almost feel like you kinda well, you know what, though? That's not true. Well, maybe. I don't know. Like, my friend, Colin, I think, used to be able to, or I think, probably, I assume still can. I think. I can't remember, though. But I feel like in order to be a musician, you have to be able to hear it in your head. Well, you would have to be able to remember all the lyrics. Well, what happens for me when I'm listening to a song in my head, I don't remember all the fucking lyrics, is I will well, it's weird. Sometimes I can remind myself of lyrics by listening to the song in my head. And it's like there's a different part of my brain that's accessing like an audio track of it. It's weird. It's hard to explain because sometimes I will be completely unable to remember the lyrics of a song as I'm playing it or singing it, but then I'll listen to it in my head and I can remind myself of the lyrics that way. Hell yeah. Well, that's cool. I'm glad I'm not a weirdo for that because I've definitely asked people about that and they've been like, "What? No." One of my old road dogs was like that. They loved music. They were a fucking musician and shit, but they were not able to like hear a song in their heads. Heads. What a weird way to put it. I'm more of a visual person. I can see the layout of the house I used to live in or buildings I've been in, objects, stuff like that. I have that too, though. I don't know. Now I feel like a show off. I can relate there for sure. I can relate there. It's kind of a neat thing. Let me ask you this, Matt, and anybody else in the chat. Are you guys able to visualize a hypothetical in your head? Like close your eyes or just like look off into the middle distance and picture something, whether it's like a house you might build or an RV you might want to live in or something like that. Like a hypothetical object. My imagination is wild. Yes. Hell yeah, I do it all the time. Well, yeah, sure. Nice. See? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. My people. I do too. Before I put anything together or start any project or anything like that, I spend a great deal of time like formulating it in my head, seeing it with my mind's eye. I can imagine what you would look like with a tan. I'm an out of the box thinker. That's true. That seems to be true based on our interactions. Psychologists call it dissociation, but I'm doing it on purpose. Like I'm trying to do it though. That's not nah. That was not a dig though. I'm just as white as you. Oh yeah, but I'm self-conscious about how fucking pale I am, dog. I'm self-conscious about that shit. Two, I ain't really that pale. If you look at it, it's hard to see on camera. Let's see if I can get a different shot. Maybe that'll be better. But, like, if you look, right, and, like, you compare, like, the whole breadth of my arm, you notice, like, there's a tan line right there. And I guess, like, it's not as pronounced on the camera, but, like, I feel like I actually am fairly, you know, sun-kissed. It's just like, you know, the bright-ass lights are gonna wash that all away. You got a slight farmer's tan. Yeah, exactly. The reason, you know why I'm self-conscious about it? Because I do spend time outside, and I like that my body reflects that now. And, like, I spent lots of years being made fun of, even by some people in my family, for being, like, like the nerdy, bookish kid, I guess. And now I kind of look that I kind of like that people can look at me, at least out in public and out and around, and see that I spend time outside, I guess. I don't know. I don't know why I'm sharing this insecurity with you guys anyway. Once the doctor found out I was trans, he expressed that my pain is all in my head and I should just get over it. Oh, well, that's fucking horrible. Yeah, you're gonna have to find a new doctor. Definitely get a second opinion on that one. Yeah, just because a person's trans doesn't mean they're making up pain. What the fuck? Stupid. Stupid. Stupid shit. Genetics are a lottery. Even if you have the genes, they might not express. Very true. Very true. Very true indeed. Restart stream, Phoebe. The night is young. Unfortunately, the night is not young for me. I have adult things that I must attend to. As in, I gotta get to bed at a reasonable hour. And that is slowly stretching away. Obviously, I always want to have the most successful night ever, but views were good tonight. Likes have been okay. No Cash App donos, but not every day is going to be a winner. It was a Cash App goal, though, Matt. $20 Cash App goal. It was a stipulation, and the stipulation was not met. Yeah, no, bucks came through. The members are appreciated as hell. The memberships were good as fuck. Yeah, no, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, I mean, if it wasn't a night where I had to go to bed earlier, I would probably go ahead and restart stream and try it again, but nah. Stipulation. Oh, Brett, that always killed me. Dude, I forgot that was a Keenism until I said it. Dude, I literally straight up forgot that was a fucking Keenism till you said that. I don't know. Dude, there are Keenisms that have, like, crept into my speech that I will say them and not even think about Brett Keane. Like, Patreon, for example. Anytime I say Patreon, I say Patreon. Situation and individual are big triggers, Situation. Individual. Oh my god, dude. I'm rewatching the Manatee Gauntlet right now too. In like the background while I'm doing shit. Like when I get off of here, it's gonna be what I start back up playing. I was watching Vosh religiously there for a while, and I got sick of his dumbass. All he's doing is like fucking basically saying, "Yep, world is fucked, everything is evil, Epstein, pedophile, doomer, a fucking boomer class, kill us all, yada yada." It's like I know all that already. I'm familiar with that already. And anytime somebody asks him like, "What's the plan? What do we do?" He like dismisses every single one of them. And then, like a third of his stream is like fucking jerking off about fashion. So it's just like, I don't know. Seems a bit out of touch to me at this point. Like, your prescriptions are correct. You're correct about the Democrats. You're factually right on the money when it comes to, like, describing what's going on. But you've got absolutely no plan for how we pull up out of this. You've got, like, no advice for people that want to get active. I mean, that was a big start to his channel. Like, that was a big way he was able to leverage his success at first, was like these big long videos about praxis and shit. I don't know, man. I don't know. Yo, Cal. It's coming. Be happy. What are you talking about, bro? You speak yokel. Is Dorn happy? It is genuinely hard to tell. I think she is, yeah. Well, okay. I don't know. I don't know anymore. I don't think she is anymore, or at least I think there's a good possibility that she ain't at this point. But at the height of Brett's popularity, thanks to his adjacency to the drunken peasants, I think that Dorn was happy on some level, yes. And I can explain why. What you were talking about, it's coming? What? You're going to have to be more specific. Oh. Is it the end times? Gotcha. The Bellin times. Anyway, so yeah. I don't know what that motherfucker was talking about, so I'm just gonna talk about Brett Keane again. Anyway, so Lab Revolt? Lab Revolt? Worldwide Labor Revolt. The thing you were talking about. Oh, okay. Well, you gotta be more specific. I hope that it's coming. I really hope so. I hope that we're seeing that building, but, you know. So anyway, here's what I think about Don Keene. In the early days, in the height of Brett Keene's popularity through his adjacency to the Drunken Peasants, which would have been the height of their popularity, I do think that Dorn was happy, and I would be willing to bet Brett Keane was probably pretty happy too, because I would be willing to bet that there are quite a few people from within the Drunken Peasants community that paid Brett through one of the many different ways that he gave people to pay him, just to see him, like just to see how he'd fuck with the money or see if he'd acknowledge it, etc., etc. That would not shock me, and it'd be perfectly in line with the, DP Buddy Troll playbook. So I think that they were probably both happier than pigs in shit. Well, on some level. They are both intrinsically miserable people, I fear, like many Americans stuck in their situation, unfortunately. But be that as it may, the biggest indicator for me in all of this is an interaction that happened on Drunken Peasants. I believe it was on episode 166, hashtag We Were There, which was one of the episodes where they had Brett Keane on. I believe it was that episode. And Dawn comes in at some point, and like they say something to her, and she is defensive of him in a way that sounds familiar to me. Like I've heard that voice coming out of other southeastern Missouri housewives, or just not housewives maybe, but you get the idea I'm driving at, right? It's a familiar kind of intonation. I think that for a long time Brett was probably a pretty faithful husband, if a little abusive. And I think in the last 5 years, he's gone from that to being a complete grotesque, maybe even a lot like last 10 years. I would say, yeah, definitely the last 10, 15 years. He's gone from being that to being like this grotesque, probably has cheated, definitely creepy and pervy weirdo that spends tons of his time on the internet talking to this AI girl. Like, the fact that she has not appeared in one of his videos, or her voice hasn't appeared out of the background or anything like that in years, tells me that their relationship is not what it used to be, because Dorn used to appear in tons of Brett's videos. Dorn's voice used to be at the beginning of a lot of his videos. Matt, honestly, that's not the impressive part of that equation. You have to get crazy fat before you can't get out of bed. The part that's impressive to me in that equation is that Brett Keane was able to find somebody willing to help him cheat on his wife. Brett Keane of all people. But believe me, you know, there's a sucker born every minute and two to take him. Who is Brett? Melanie, do you know what a lolcow is? Let me explain. Don't nobody else explain. Don't nobody else explain. Do you know what a lolcow is, Melanie? Or Melanie? Sorry. I get you and someone else confused. I'm waiting for Melanie's response. I need to know how much I need to explain, basically. Boopity 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 boop boop. Situation individual. Situation individual. Situation individual. Oh, internet lore. Everything. Yes. Lolcow, yes. Okay. So, Brett Keane is the OG, one of the OG lolcows, and the way more deserving of the pair. There's basically a pair of lolcows who have been prominent for about the same amount of time. Brett Keane and Chris Chan. One of these is a reprehensible scumfuck, and the other is like a poor autistic kid, basically, that grew up with nothing but the internet to raise him, etc., etc. So that would be Chris Chan. The former is Brett Keane. Brett Keane is an actual wife-beating, video plagiarizing, song plagiarizing, doxing piece of shit that has made an enemy of everyone who has ever called him friend, has had restraining orders put against him ex parte. He has had charges of domestic abuse filed against him. And despite it all, he cannot stop seeking attention through 72 view videos on YouTube channels that are eternally doomed because he has been banned off of YouTube so many times. And being banned off of the fucking platform once is supposed to be it. But he's come back literally hundreds of times. Gets banned, comes back a fucking week later on a new account, often named the exact same thing or something very similar. As far as like who he is personally, outside of the things he's done, he is a basically, if he was 20 IQ points smarter, he'd be a neo-Nazi, but he's just this side of a starfish intelligence-wise, so he's not quite intelligent enough to like put his beliefs into even that level of low coherence. But he's like a Trump supporting, die-hard, ride or die MAGA fucking loser that beats his wife and lives in utter decrepitude and is so embarrassed by the way he looks and the disgusting conditions he lives in that he's afraid to show himself on camera. Oh, I get what we were talking about now. Just did a bit of research. I've never heard the term lolcow before. Yep. Yep. Brett Keane is the original deserving lolcow. I do think that there are people who are like lolcows that don't deserve it and who really can't help it. And I feel like it would be, I feel like it's like an act of evil to participate in the dogpiling of those people. People like Christian, you know? But then there's some people that kind of deserve it. They deserve like the shame train, they've earned it. And I think it's like ultimately the only way to show people that there are social consequences for that kind of behavior. So, it just depends. And I think the methods, right? Like, I don't support doxing no matter who it's against. I don't support swatting no matter who it's against, et cetera, et cetera. But publicly roasting, making fun of en masse, I'd become a grifter if I didn't like sleeping at night. Yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. Dude, sometimes I've thought about it. Sometimes I've thought about um what crazy money I could make if I like, just like totally ran into some like right wing grift, like I'm gonna be another like pro right wing trans woman because that market is just so ripe for exploitation. But the thing I run into every time is that I have a soul that would be tainted by that kind of behavior. Who's your favorite influencer? Uh, I guess I have different ones for different topics, but in general, it's probably going to be a toss up between Paul Zigo and TJ Kirk. It's going to be one of those two. Toss up between them. But in terms of like news and politics streamers, I like those two: Kyle Kalinske, Vosh, Hassan. um, there's this Palestinian fellow that I watch all of his shorts and shit, but I can't remember his name off the top of my head. There's a few other people that I don't watch like as much, but I like respect what they have to say and shit. Um, as far as like gaming influencers, really the only one I watch anymore, ever since Review Tech USA just like went hardcore down the lolcow path. Um, the only one I watch anymore is Annie Austin, aka That One Show Fun, aka The Eggbuster, aka Eggbusters, aka I don't know, like the million other names he's fucking had on this goddamn platform. At this point, he's Annie Austin. Clavicula OD'd a couple hours ago. Yep, I know. I mean, like, dude, he said that he was like pointing his life in that direction. He said before that he doesn't want to live to fucking 35 and all this other shit. Lots of people, and I mean lots of people, have been warning about something like this for a long time. The fact that adults are still enabling this, I'm not saying Clavicular is like a total child that he can't, like, he's got no agency, but it's just like, I would understand if the whole world was ran by 12-year-old boys, but it's not. Like, how are adults? I don't know, dude. It just goes to show you, man. Money is the root of all evil, and allowing capital interests to completely rape our society to death and allowing the rot of individualism to creep into all of our brains has brain rotted us all, crippled us all, and reduced us to, I don't know, dumb motherfuckers ODing in a Nashville nightclub. Like, how do you get to the point where you have sold your soul to the devil to the point where you are willing to platform that? Got me. Hammer to the facial bones is crazy. I saw that and was horrified. Me too. I actively cringe when I see that kid because I think about the pain that he's in. I think about the mental anguish that he's in. Somebody like that needs to be medicated, committed, not promulgated as an example to everyone else. Whatever, man. Whatever. Fuck you, got mine attitude. Willing to get rich above everything else. I see it in the manosphere. Yeah, it's incredibly ugly to watch. And yeah, it's incredibly prevalent in the manosphere. Literally, the manosphere will sell you rat poison in a jar to take daily if they think your dumbass will buy it long enough to make a couple $100,000 before you die. It's disgusting. It's actively disgusting. And it's just one of many things. And I'm just wondering, how bad does it have to get before we all rise up? I'll be honest with you. One of the reasons I keep thinking about that digital nomad shit I bring up every fucking stream now, one of the reasons I keep thinking about that is because ultimately that would allow me to start the movement my fucking self if I have to. And maybe I'll be the only goddamn one. Maybe it'll just be me out there with one little lonely sign somewhere in DC or somewhere on Wall Street. Maybe it'll just be me. Maybe that's all the fight America's got left. One prickly trans lady from the deep south. Let it not be so. Stand and fight. What would your sign say? It'd be my 5 policy prescriptions, that I'm always shouting about. I would find a way to codify it into a sign. End foreign wars and endless aid to Israel might be the first bullet point. The second bullet point might be universal health care now. The third bullet point might be student loan forgiveness and free higher education. The fourth bullet point might be I don't know how I'd codify this into a bullet point, but new infrastructure package with an eye towards public transit. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, it would be the 5 things, but I would have to codify it into bullet points, probably. And maybe so, we've got end the foreign wars and unconditional aid to Israel. We've got universal health care now. We've got free higher education. And universal basic income could be the fourth one. And honestly, housing reform might not be a bad 5th one. I think if this movement were to happen, I would, before I launched it and tried to get people to do it with me, it'd probably be me and 20 other dorks sitting around on Wall Street, but whatever. But before I did it, I would want to codify the 5 things into bullet points and then print out pamphlets, basically, that explain the 5 specific policy prescriptions and exactly what is demanded in clear language anyone can understand. Can you imagine the relief? I can. I fear a lot of other people can't. I fear a lot of people's imagination has died. I think about it on the daily, not gonna lie. All of us do need to think about it on the daily. Think about how much could be done if the money was just pointed in the right direction. Reorient our society so that our production translates to quality of life. MBs of all lands unite, yes. I don't wish I was a woman, but sometimes I think I would have been better at it. That's valid. I'm sure everybody wonders about it from time to time. I always tell people it's completely normal to wonder about it every so often, but if you're like dominated by thoughts of being in the wrong body and trying to fulfill the totally wrong norms, then yeah, you're probably trans. But it's totally normal to wonder. I'm sure everyone with a penis has imagined fucking something with a vagina, like being fucked while having a vagina, and I'm sure everyone with a vagina has imagined fucking something else with a penis. We need to bring instances of CSA to 0 point. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I don't think there's any way to like directly address it without like these broader societal things. The biggest thing that honestly, like the biggest common factor in that is lack of education and wealth inequality. Like honestly, having, and I bring this up all the time, but any good historical materialist examination of our current situation and how it's been throughout the years and the class situation and everything else will tell you that, of course, Epstein was guilty. Of course, every powerful person in America is tied in some way to him. And of course, there are others. It's a natural consequence. Like, it's just a natural extrapolation of the knowledge that any system that privileges certain people above others due to their class position is going to create microcosms of abuse. Norm Finkelstein made me sad yesterday. He said, if Trump knew Epstein, yeah, I know. Kill your heroes. Unfortunately, I think I do need to get off here, though. I think it's somebody on Discord. I found Chauncey's brother at a bar in Portland. I saw that. Yeah, you did see Chauncey's brother. Indeed, you did. Vance 2028? Maybe. It'd be nice to see the Republicans run somebody a little more level-headed and less apt to insanity. Younger, too. Younger, 2028. Yeah, no, I agree there. For sure. I'm going to end the stream with this. We're fucked, but we don't have to be fucked. There are things that you can do in your life that I want to do as soon as I have the ability to do it. Right now, I live in the country and I don't have my own car, so it's a little hard. But there are things that we can all do, some of which I'm already doing, some of which you could do, some of which you may not have the ability to do. But there are things we can all do, I think, on some level. Tactic here, tactic there, that will help build a better world, or at least prepare people for the worst excesses to come. These are things like participating in mutual aid organizations, volunteering at soup kitchens and animal shelters and cleanup organizations and park maintenance orgs and city beautification committees and things like this. There are things you can do in your personal life just as an individual person. If you've got as much of if you've got even just a little balcony, you've probably got enough light to grow some tomatoes of your own, to grow some herbs of your own, to reduce just a little bit your dependence on the food system. There are composting bins you can buy these days that are specifically meant for apartments so that you can turn the things that your kitchen puts off that don't necessarily need to go in the garbage, that can decompose, into more soil for your plants. You can listen to audiobooks to increase the scope of your knowledge and preparation for what might be to come. You can socialize with other people and try to figure out a plan moving forward. Make plans for all these things we've been talking about right now. There are things we can do. There are things we must do. And whatever that looks like, we gotta fucking work together to get through this shit. I don't know what else to say. It sounds cliche, but it is what it is. Anyway, peace.